These. Have you ever dreamed of living in a magnificent castle, draped in fine silks and attending lavish banquets? It sounds like a fairy tale, doesn't it? But what was a typical day really like for a medieval noble? Forget the Hollywood glamour for a moment, and let's step back in time, inside the cold stone walls of a real medieval castle. The day for our noble, let's call him Lord Alaric, begins long before the sun even peeks over the horizon. The first sound isn't a gentle harp, but the tolling of the chapel bell, calling everyone to matins, the first prayer of the day. Yes, even a powerful Lord's Day was structured around religious services. After a chilly brief prayer in the castle's private chapel, it's time for the first meal. But hold on, don't picture a grand feast just yet. Breakfast was often a simple affair, perhaps some bread, cheese, and a small cup of ale or wine. Water was often untrustworthy, so weak ale was the standard drink for everyone, even children. With the sun now rising, Lord Alaric's workday begins. Being a noble wasn't all leisure, it was a serious job. His primary responsibility was managing his estate. He'd head to the Great Hall, which was the heart of the castle, not just for parties, but for business. Here, he'd meet with his steward to go over the accounts. 2. How much grain was harvested? How are the livestock faring? Are the tenants paying their dues? These were the questions that occupied his morning. He was essentially the CEO of a large agricultural corporation. He also had to act as a judge, settling disputes among his vassals and peasants. Someone's pig wandered into a neighbor's garden and ate all the cabbages. Lord Alaric would hear the case and deliver a verdict. Justice was swift and personal. Meanwhile, what about his wife, Lady Alara? Her life was just as busy, if not more so. She was the manager of the entire household. She would oversee the kitchens, ensuring there was enough food prepared for the castle's sizable population, which could include knights, servants, and guests. She managed the weaving and spinning, making sure everyone had clothes and the castle had tapestries to keep out the drafts. She was also responsible for the education of her children, especially her daughters, teaching them the skills they'd need to run their own castles one day. And let's not forget the castle's garden, where she supervised the growing of herbs for both cooking and medicinal purposes. She was a manager, a doctor, a teacher, and a diplomat, all rolled into one. As midday approaches, the main meal of the day is served, usually around 10 or 11 a.m. This is where we get a glimpse of the feasting we imagine. The high table in the Great Hall would be set for the Lord, his family, and any important guests. The food would be plentiful, at least for them. You might see roasted meats like venison or boar, various birds, fish from the castle's own pond, and bread. But there were no forks yet. People used their fingers, a personal knife, and a slab of stale bread called a trencher as a plate, which they might give to the poor or the dogs after the meal. Manners were important, but they were very different from ours. The afternoon offered a chance for more noble pursuits. If the weather was good, Lord Alaric might go hunting or practice falconry. This wasn't just for fun. Hunting provided fresh meat for the table and was excellent training for warfare, honing skills in tracking and horsemanship. Lady Alara might spend her time on embroidery, a highly valued skill, or perhaps play a game of chess. She might also walk the castle walls, inspecting the defenses and enjoying a moment of fresh air. This was also a time for training the younger generation. The boys would be in the courtyard, learning sword fighting and jousting from the master Torms, while the girls learned music, dancing, and the art of conversation, preparing them for their roles in a society built on alliances and courtly grace. But life wasn't all work and training. Entertainment was crucial to break the monotony. A traveling minstrel or a jester might arrive at the castle, bringing news, songs, and laughter. These were welcome distractions in a world without internet or television. Storytelling around the fire in the Great Hall was a favorite pastime, with tales of chivalrous knights, epic battles, and mythical beasts captivating the audience. As evening falls, a light supper is served, often consisting of leftovers from the main meal. The castle slowly quiets down. The final church service compline marks the end of the day. Security becomes paramount. The drawbridge is raised, the portcullis is lowered, and guards patrol the battlements. The castle becomes a fortress, sealed against the dangers of the night. Lord Alaric and Lady Alara would retire to their private chamber, which, while more comfortable than other rooms, was still drafty and dimly lit by candles or a fireplace. They'd sleep on a large bed with heavy curtains to keep in the warmth and offer a little privacy. So, the life of a medieval noble was a complex mix of immense privilege and heavy responsibility. It was a life of prayer, administration, and constant vigilance, punctuated by moments of grand ceremony and simple pleasures. It was a world governed by duty, faith, and the changing of the seasons. Far from a fairy tale, it was a life of substance, strategy, and survival, all lived within the protective embrace of the castle walls. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. If you enjoyed this glimpse into medieval life, please hit that like button and subscribe for more adventures into the past. Let me know in the comments what part of history you'd like to explore next. See you soon.